It's 20th of June 25, Friday, and I just want to talk about there's two big bills going through in Britain at the moment and through Parliament. On Tuesday we had the AB bill. I'll tell you about that later. I don't like saying the name in case Google don't like it. And then today there was the assisted dying bill, and both of them were vote of conscience, which just makes a mockery of our democracy. We didn't vote our MPs to vote in conscience, you know what I mean? We voted to represent us. Um, so, but that's a bit better than just voting what the leader tells them, the leader of their party, because that's the two ways we get our democracy. It's we've got representative democracy where our local area elects somebody and they represent us, but they don't really. Actually, they just represent. Well, usually they represent the party that they're with, whatever their leader tells them to do, because a lot of time they're whipped to do that. But then they also get to vote on conscience, and so they can vote whatever they like, and so the people aren't involved in any of that. It's just absolutely ridiculous, I think. I've said this many times, and it's my main point, really, of my whole being, really, I suppose. The only country near to democracy, even near to it, that's not even, they're not perfect, is the Swiss electoral system, from what I've seen. I've spelt that wrong. Oh dear, yeah. Yeah, because they have referendums all the time. They have quarterly referendums, petition referendums. That's how it should be, something like assisted dying. It really should be the people who decide, it should be a referendum. And then the other thing that they were voting on this week, and a conscience vote. And I'll show you the two things on Google Gemini that they were voting on. But my main point would be I think I've thought of a stopgap way that they could do this. They don't need to go straight to the Swiss electoral system. And the stopgap way is, why doesn't each MP ask their constituents how do you want them to vote on this? Say on the assisted dying bill, they could appear on YouTube with their hands in their pockets and saying, "You have represented me and we're used to either voting as our party tells us to, or as a vote of conscience where I do what I like." But I feel because of social media, I've been forced to let yous have a say, and I really resent it. But okay, sort of tell me what you think. Probably you'd be able to tell without even having a real vote, but you could do an electronic vote. With your constituents, they could register how many vote. Do we do that? No, we don't. But that's how you could do it. That would be a stopgap. Because, like I say, I think we're going to have to switch to the Swiss electoral system because we're not democratic enough. And the current way would be able to survive if it wasn't for social media. But social media is sending, because the problem for the politicians is that people are more interested in politics now. When Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon was putting through that bill about ladies, everyone agreed with it, the Tories, Labour, it was just the usual, they were just going through it. But then just the week it was about to get passed, ladies in social media were a bit upset about it, they suddenly heard about it and things on social media, and because the vibe that they were getting was they didn't feel that ladies supported the bill that they'd all agreed on, Nicola Sturgeon and Tories and Labour, etc. So soon Nicola Sturgeon had resigned. And the bill didn't go through, as far as I know. So this is a problem for politicians. People are taking too much interest in politics now. Because in Scotland, we had the Holyrood Parliament was elected every 4 years, but I think it was either Nicola Sturgeon or Alex Salmon made that every 5 years on our behalf, So instead of getting to vote every 4 years for a party, we could get to vote every 5 years instead, So, I mean, if you're going to keep that sort of first past the post thing, it needs to be every 3 years, like in Australia, So 4 years, 5 years is too much. 4 years is not enough even. It needs to be every 3 years, really. Alright, this is the two votes of conscience that they were voting on this week. That one was on the Tuesday. And today, Friday, they voted in the assisted dying one. I'm not saying that in case Google don't like it, but yeah, so it's just to give you a show. I mean, like I say, what we could do is the MPs could ask their constituents, how do you want me to vote in this? It's a vote of conscience. How do you want me to vote? They could do an e-vote, get people to register or whatever. But anyway, they don't do that. They just get to vote. Usually they have to vote what their party tells them, but in votes of conscience they can vote what they like. So that's what you represented them for, so they can vote what they like in these votes. So this was to decriminalise it in irregular circumstances, that is, for women in England and Wales. I don't know who brought it on as an amendment. This is a thing that happens to bills. I don't agree with bills, bills that come up with these massive changes, 20 changes, 30 changes, loads and loads of changes that they've decided themselves. They're not asked the public, what do you think of these? And then somebody else comes along, maybe any MP, might not be even, it may be an opposition MP, comes along with an amendment. Suddenly you've got a vote of conscience on the amendment. But I just wondered how the parties voted on it. So it was Labour's Tonya Antoniazzi, who will probably lose her seat at the next election to Reform, I would imagine, but that's already baked in at the moment. But we've got 4 years to go, because we only get to vote every 5 years. So there were 3 votes, meaning MPs were not compelled to vote along party lines. Did anyone ask their constituents how to vote? No. So the overall vote, it passed by 379 votes to 137. So if she's a Labour, why didn't Labour put this in the first place in the bill? It was a crime and policing bill. So this is just a joke, really. An MP can just put something in themselves. We get a vote of conscience. So if the ruling party allow you, only if they allow you. If they don't, you don't really get it, or it gets voted down anyway. It's not a vote of conscience. The ruling party tell their MPs to vote against it, Anyway, it passed by 379 votes to 137. I mean, personally, I would have voted in favour of it, because people say, this one, I was talking about the other one. This one, yeah, no, I'm not sure about this. I would have probably abstained on this one, because I don't think you should have the right to, a pregnant woman shouldn't have the right to not go through with it, even up to the last day. I mean, are they talking maybe even hours before? I don't think so, because in the end, when you think about this, to me, it's someone dying, basically. So I'm in favour of it, because the women want it. We're at 23 weeks at the moment or something, which is probably, a baby could survive that probably, but I don't feel good about it at all, so I would abstain probably. Apparently Nigel Farage abstained, whereas the rest of his MPs voted against it. Yeah, here's a breakdown of how the parties generally voted on the amendment. Labour MPs overwhelmingly supported the amendment. The reports indicate 291 Labour MPs voted in favour, with only 25 voting against and 85 abstentions or absent. So there's still quite a few who weren't voting for it, but no, I couldn't have really voted for it, And also, you've got to remember that there's a dad involved in this as well, but they don't seem to care what the dad thinks. A lot of times the dad's not interested, and that's fine. But if the dad's interested, but we're sort of women orientated now. Not that I'm against that, but something like this, we're just thinking of one side, really. Yeah. Um, I mean, personally, I think this kind of thing we should maybe think of new ways to try and get them to keep them because, you could adopt them, give them all up for adoption because apparently we've got a low birth rate in the West. So we're losing a lot in this way, and a lot of people want kids and can't have them or whatever. So you could have maybe send them to a retreat for the last 3 months or something, in a really nice place, out of their own environment or whatever. And you don't even need to go through with the whole pregnancy. You could maybe take it a month earlier or as soon as you think possible, because it was going to die anyway if the normal procedure had happened. So even though there's a risk, you could do that, something like that. So I would have probably abstained on this anyway. So the Labour Party, overall, they voted for it, but quite a few of them, that's nearly a quarter, didn't. Yeah. Tory Party, while the government officially maintained a neutral stance, that's the Labour Party, the support for the amendment from Conservative MPs was much lower. Only 8 Conservative MPs voted in favour of the amendment, so there you go. Lib Dems largely voted in favour of the amendment. All Reform UK MPs who voted opposed the amendment, with the exception of their leader Nigel Farage, who abstained. And good on Nigel, because I think sometimes if MPs don't know or they can't make up their mind, they should just abstain or whatever. They don't always get the answer. So yeah, that's fine. But like I say, everyone should ask their constituents instead. I think amongst constituents, even though they're in favour, I saw a poll from 2023. I think about I'll need to find it. I'll find it in a minute. This vote means that women in England and Wales will no longer face criminal prosecution for doing that, though the existing legal framework, 24-week limit, etc., 2 doctors' approval remains in place, except for those who don't do it, basically. A separate Conservative amendment, which would have required in-person appointments for obtaining, was defeated. So you don't even need to see anybody if you want to do that. The lady involved, was defeated by 379 votes to 117. Probably a real Labour and Lib Dem, really. Well, the Labour are about 375. So anyway, I'll try and find that poll for you. Yeah, here's a poll from September 2023, YouGov. This is outside the set of rules, should not face criminal prosecution. So that's what this amendment was, really. All Britons should be prosecuted, 21%. Don't know, 28%. Should not be, 52%. So we're looking at this purple thing because that's what the MPs voted in favour of yesterday, or Tuesday. All Britons, 52%. Women 59%, men 44%, so it's not really overwhelming, even. I mean, women are more in favour of it, of course, so you didn't really even make 60%, really. Women under 40, 64%. Women 40 or over, 56%. Men under 40, 45%. Men 40 or over, 43%. So, really, women 59% is the one to look at, really, and that's who they voted in favour of on Tuesday, but it's not that overwhelming, really, is it? I mean, you've only got 16% of women say should still be prosecuted. I mean, I don't think prosecutions are anything, but I don't know what to do. You don't really want, I don't think you really want, especially, young women, any women, say a day before they're due to give birth, can just take a pill, and that's that, really. I don't know about that. I don't think that's right, really. So anyway, so that's just wanted to show you that. I mean, prosecuted, no one was really in favour of it. I mean, really 25% of men, 16% of women. Most of them don't know is really, although most people should not be. But when you put prosecuted and don't know together, you know, you're getting quite a big thing, mate. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, on to the assisted dying bill, which was today, Friday, 20th of June. How did parties vote? So terminal patients, this is probably for England, maybe Wales, yeah it is. And it means that apparently if they've got 6 months to live, they're terminally ill, then they have the right to choose to die. Personally, I would have voted in favour of it myself. Here's a breakdown of how parties generally voted, keeping in mind these were free votes. I mean, actually, assisted dying already happens. I don't think people know this, but when you're very near the end, you'll not, the care staff won't give you any food or drink, you know, so you're expected not to last a day or two even. But I've heard of someone lasting 10 days, you know, without food or drink. So they already do it. Personally, I think most people would want it, you know, and I don't know if there's a poll to see about this, but this is for England and Wales anyway. And this was the third reading, so that means I'm really going to go through it. I'll go to the House of Lords again, but really that's it. It's through after the third reading. I don't know why they do all these readings, you know. That's another thing, it's archaic about the Parliament. It's maybe they talk about it once in Parliament, and then the House of Lords talk about it to make changes or whatever, and then they talk about it again in the Parliament, back over the House of Lords, back over the back. That goes on for about 6-8 months or something. It's just a lot of nonsense. I mean, someone's got to make a decision at some point, you know. It's just archaic stuff. I don't even believe in the House of Lords anyway. That should be scrapped. I used to believe in a House of Representatives, you know, of the population, but I'm not very keen on that now because I think it'll just be too woke, basically. It'll just be ultra woke. So, I'm not really in favour of that now either, so, don't know. Better than the House of Lords, though. So here's a breakdown of how parties generally voted, keeping in mind this was a free vote where MPs vote according to their conscience, not to what their voters want, their constituents. Overall vote, the bill passed by 314 to 291, a majority of 23, so it was pretty close. This was a narrower majority than when it passed its second reading in November. So there you go, the last time they voted on it was November, which was 7 months ago. And that was just the second reading. They'd already had a first reading where it had a majority of 55. The Labour Party, a clear majority of Labour MPs supported the bill. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer voted in favour of the bill. However, there were divisions within the party, with some prominent figures like Health Secretary Wes Streeting and Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner voting against it. I'd like to know why, really, because probably their constituents are in favour of it, I think. Tory party, most Conservative MPs voted against the bill. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch voted against. We don't know if that's on beliefs or that it was just being opportunistic, you know, to try and make Labour to lose the bill, even though it was a free vote, you know. Lib Dems largely voted in favour of the bill. Other parties, the overall vote suggests support from a range of MPs across the political spectrum, though with differing levels of endorsement from the larger parties. So it's considered unlikely to be stopped from ultimately becoming law at this stage. It's important to note that the bill, if it becomes law, would allow terminally ill adults with a life expectancy of less than 6 months to apply for an assisted death. This would be subject to approval by 2 doctors and a panel featuring a social worker, senior legal figure and psychiatrist. This differs from earlier proposals which had included approval by a High Court judge. See, that's maybe the House of Lords changed it and all that, you know, that's just the sort of thing that happens. It's not a very good way of doing it, in my opinion, making all the changes and stuff. And of course, the constituents don't get any say at all, so yeah. And that's the end of my video. I just wanted to say that they could have a stopgap direct democracy just now by just asking constituents how to vote on bills, you know. You could ask, you vote to your local MP, the MP could say this is how my constituents have voted. It's not what I agree with, but that's how they voted. But of course that doesn't happen. I don't know. I don't think our democracy can last if fairness is what we all want, you know. Because really, Keir Starmer doesn't want fairness. He likes the current system. And now Reform, who are in favour of proportional representation, I've been starting to hear that now they want they want to keep the first past the post because they're getting to around about 33%, which means you'll have 66% of the MPs, you know, so I don't agree with that at all, you know, so I don't even really agree with proportional representation, although it's better than what we've got at the moment. But yeah, because like I say, Britain's actually been a left-leaning country for since the early 1950s, I think, because you've had the Tories representing the right, and then in the left you've had Labour, the Lib Dems and the Greens, and they've all split the vote. It was to let the Tories get through. So we've been a left-leaning country since the early 50s. I think 1952 was the last time. I mean, Scotland used to be a conservative country, basically. It was mostly Tory, from what I've seen, anyway, like an old things. But it's very left now. Yeah, but ironically, at the moment, since February, now we're a right-leaning thingy country, and that's for the first time since around 1952, really. And I can think that's because of one issue, basically. Because people are wanting Tory and Reform, especially Reform. And I would say that's for an Overton window reason, because they're not very good on the issue. Personally, I think what they're offering on the issue, we should have an Overton window shift, and that should be what the far left should be offering on that issue. That's how we've got to shift on that issue. Yeah, so I see Reform as an Overton window vote. Yeah, so since February, we've finally become right-leaning again for the first time since 1952 or something like that. That's my reading of it. Okay, and that's everything. But like I say, I think we should have referendums all the time, quarterly referendums. Switzerland's the only democracy, really. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.